Thank you for that flawless pronunciation. It was amazing, spot on. Um, Hello, everyone. My name is Naimeh Masumy. I'm a full-time postgraduate law student at UCL. I'm very honored to be here and to talk to you guys today. I actually got out of tutorial like nearly 2 hours ago, so I'll try make these 10 minutes more fun than my day has been. I want to begin by thanking the President and Provost Michael Arthur for hosting this wonderful event. I would also like to thank the Development and Alumni Relations Office for organizing it. The financial aid that I have received gave me the opportunity to fully engage in the LLM program at UCL and not worry about my finances. And this is a particularly wonderful thing for a Persian because God knows our best feature is spending, and we love materials. And I have to admit that without the Ardalan Family Scholarship, I most definitely would not be here. Throughout my life, I've come to realize that education is the most transcendent gift one can be given. And the Ardalan Family Scholarship has given me that gift, allowing me to have my foot in the door of the future, a future I was once unable to envision and that was deemed far from reach at a time. 4 years ago, at around this time, I was anxiously waiting in the corridor of Iran's Institute of Technology to hear the result of my startup pitch. All my work and effort kind of boiled down to what happened at that moment. So, see, when I was a child, a highly ambitious woman in Iran were considered something of an anomaly. I learned this by watching my mom struggling along her journey to success. In the 80s, as a young woman who had a vision of achieving her ambitions, my mother found herself working day in, day out, often for 20 hours. At a time, it was a tough thing, but she was determined to prove she could deliver just as well as a man. Her male peers, unfortunately, ridiculed her aspiration to succeed and questioned her intentions. Success for my mom was a very lonely road, with few friends here and there. Yet she never lost sight of her inner knowledge that what she was doing, what she believed in, was a worthy cause and a winnable fight. She decided to take charge of her destiny. Having seen my mother's determination to succeed pay off, I decided to adapt the same mentality. I told myself that I was willing to take a risk, and I didn't care if I lost everything. I didn't want to go through life quietly, safely, tiptoeing my life to an early grave. I thought to myself, what is all this worth if I don't have my integrity and free spirit? Going through college with this mindset was a challenge. But the more daunting the task, the more I was drawn into it. It seems clear to me that innovation was the missing ingredient of law schools. So I decided to break this sort of a legal doctrinal mold and came up with entrepreneurial approach to streamline fragmented oil and gas laws in Iran. I had long held the desire and vision to start a business in energy sector. This spawned many ideas, but nurturing those ideas and turning them into something tangible required knowledge. At the time, I was greeted with skepticism, doubt, and ridicule. I'm sure my friends even thought I was high on drugs at one point, and I wasn't, just a little bit. I went to the state to acquire a firm grounding before returning home to bring my goal into fruition. I had faith that I would succeed, but waiting in the corridor of the Iranian Institute of Technology, I knew that my whole life had boiled down to that moment when I would hear whether I had made it or not. I hadn't. That was when everything started to unravel. I lost my investment in the startup. I was unemployed, and I became financially reliant on my family. I felt as though life had cruelly knocked me down, and it kept me in a state of inertia. Hiding behind my fear, I came up with all type of excuse to validate my inaction. I spent 3 years in the dark place, no longer working towards my dream. I let that single event define me as a failure, simply because I hadn't produced the result I wanted straight away. I couldn't even see success or happiness, or anything that looked remotely like it around me. I railed at a time that great entrepreneurs such as Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg never stopped to warn us about this part of a game, the part where it all goes wrong. And worst of all, I lost my hope. That little thing that holds out its hand to you in the dark was completely gone. It was so hard to rebuild myself piece by piece with no instruction book and no clues as to where all the important bits are supposed to go. But the challenge was to hold on and to learn to believe that the universe reversed tenacity. I had to embrace the faith and believe that one day it would be my turn to succeed. And also, one thing that I learned from the time in my life is that fear isn't real. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to panic over things that don't presently exist, and may never exist. Fear is a choice. A year ago, while I was browsing through some pages on law and entrepreneurship, I stumbled upon this program called Law Without Walls, which is run by UCL. I feel like, for some weird reason, the universe was kind of playing emotional game with me because the premise was so interesting and it was replicating all of my dreams. And knowing that even difficult things are only temporarily, I instantly felt that I could do it. I can just apply for it. I did worry that my lack of financial resource might prevent me being admitted, especially since I had no choice of getting financial assistance. But even so, I dared to get my hopes up. Turns out, July 1st of 2015 was my day. The day I got my admission letter from the Ardalan Family Scholarship was the day that hope came back into my life. It was the moment that I thought I can forget everything I've done and can start over. It is actually very humbling and kind of reinvigorating to start over. It takes courage. The only thing that you need to do is basically you put your ego aside, maybe on a shelf, and tell it to be quiet. And for me, it has been. I mean, it screams once in a while, but sometimes, yeah, I maintain it. When I started at UCL, I've come across a few professors who have dared to publish research debunking the claims heavily embedded in legal doctrine. They have allowed me to think that it is okay to go against the grain, to refuse to conform, to take the roads less traveled instead of the well-beaten path, to laugh in the face of adversity, and more importantly, to take a leap of faith without being afraid to fall. Another interesting thing is that when I was little, I used to think when I grow up, I will no longer be vulnerable. But being at UCL, these past few months, I have realized that growing up is to accept vulnerability. None of which would have been possible without Mr. Cyrus Ardalan, whom, dare I say, also stubbornly refused to fit into society. I met him, unfortunately he's not here. I did not email him because I wanted to be a surprise. Note to myself, do not try to surprise important people because it never happens. So, unfortunately he's not here, but I have to say, when I met him back in November, one thing that struck me the most about meeting him was his passion to thrive and do his best. I've come to learn that his path to success was not easy by any account. His family left Iran before the revolution and never had the chance to go back home. They endured the agony of living in exile. Meeting him, I learned that there's no chance, no destiny, no suffering, no faith that can circumvent or hinder the firm resolve of a determined soul. Sirius's family might have missed out on their dream of living with their loved ones in their homeland. But here's their son. I mean, not here, but so well accomplished in his own right, helping other Iranians like me to follow their dreams. I'm sure there are men like Sirius standing in this room who have been put in extraordinary situation during their lives, who have suffered immensely. But out of all this suffering, it has emerged the strongest souls and huge characters. They are the ones that are here to let us dream again, and they will be unforgettable. Because what we do for ourselves, sadly, dies with us. But what we do for others and the world remains and is immortal.